Bienvenidos and welcome to another episode of Telenovelas con Dulce, the podcast where I, your host Dulce Valencia, talk about telenovelas with you all. Today we have a very special episode because we are joined by the one, the only, the brilliant, the talented actor, activist. You know her as the star of Cosita Linda and Tierra de Reyes, Ana Lorena Sanchez.
Oh, I love that interview, that introduction. Thank you so much. It's so sweet of you. It is my absolute honor and privilege to be sitting down on this screen with you today, and I'm so excited to be with you.
I'm so excited to have you. I am a huge fan of you. And also, I'm very fortunate to call you a friend. And that just makes my heart flutter.
It is absolutely reciprocated.
Thank you. How have you been?
I've been good. It's been a weird year. I have my pups with me, so you guys might hear them in the background. It's Kai and Boone. Guys, you need to be quiet. Stop. Again, picking up where I left off, it's been a bit of a chaotic year. I think it looks, different for everybody. I still think that I'm a silver linings type of person, and there's a lot to take out of this year and a lot to take with me moving forward. It's close to my birthday, and even though I don't go too big on my birthday, except for last year, I usually go into like a period of reflection. And you know how for New Year's, some people take that time to reflect and to set some goals, and maybe I never go through that. It's not that I never go through that. It's just that when my birthday comes around, that's when I get my little mini birthday crisis. And it sounds like, okay, what are you doing with your life? Where are you going? Where do you want to be? What can you do different? What can you take with you moving forward? What do you want to release? So I feel it already coming along. But I'm excited. I'm excited to just get new projects started. I have 2 projects coming along. And I don't know what my 30 going on 31 will bring me.
Wow, I love it. And it's so funny because I do the exact same thing on my
birthday.
Oh,
really? That's
yes.
Awesome.
So when you were saying it, I was like, oh my God, we do the same thing. It started when I was going through a really difficult time in my life. And then I just started writing a letter to myself, to my future self. And in that, I started envisioning what I wanted her future to be like.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And so now I have 6 letters all going back from 6 years ago. And
man.
My
birthday. Do you ever go back to them and read them and see how far you've come from where you? Oh, that was Boone.
It's okay.
Technical difficulties. Do you ever go back and read them?
I do. Whenever I'm doubting myself or whenever I'm going through something difficult, and whatever I find, because I have multiple journals. So sometimes I find the letter that I wrote last year, or I find the letter that I wrote to myself, like the first one I wrote. And every single time, it just tells me what I needed to hear.
It's funny. I think it's funny how sometimes when you're in alignment and you're writing from a place of source and of light from within, that can literally transcend time and place. So it does become like confirmation whenever you need it, or guidance whenever you need it. That is so inspiring. I think I might do that this year.
Do it. I so recommend it to everyone. I'm always like, write a letter to yourself. But yeah. Anyway, moving forward, happy early birthday. Maybe by the time this comes out, it will be your birthday because your birthday's in August.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe, ooh. Maybe I'll release it on your birthday just as a birthday gift.
Stop!
Your fans. Okay, you know what? I'm manifesting. That's what's gonna happen. That's what's gonna happen.
It would be such an awesome birthday present. It would mean a lot to me.
All right, that's what we're gonna do then. So we're gonna get started with this interview. And so we're just gonna yeah, because I think originally I was like, most of these questions talk about Tierra de Reyes. But if at any point you want to talk about any other telenovela you've done,
Okay.
I actually recently started watching Cosita Linda.
Oh, really?
Yes, it's on Prende TV.
Oh my God, they're airing it?
So Prende TV is an app, and it works like I have it on my phone, and
so it's like a streaming platform.
it's a streaming platform that Univision
Nice.
and
my gosh,
it's completely free, and you can watch all these telenovelas, and they have Cosita Linda.
that is amazing. What have you thought about it?
I like it.
Yeah,
I like it. I really am a really big fan of Christian Meyer.
Oh yeah.
He did La Malquerida, where he was this good guy, but at the end he's like the worst human being ever.
Wasn't that with Victoria Rufo?
Yes.
Yeah. And Ariadne Diaz.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
And
that was actually, he did that right after Cosita Linda.
You're kidding.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was that soon.
It was right after we finished shooting in Miami, and I remember talking to him because we're still really good friends. Like he's one of the people that I have worked with who is just such a generous and beautiful soul. That we're still in touch. And as soon as we finished Cosita Linda, a couple months later, I remember him reaching out and saying that he was in Mexico City and that he was going to start a project with Victoria Rufo, and it was called La Malquerida, and yeah.
Oh, I love that, and I love hearing that he's a good person because I love him.
He is a beautiful soul. Christian was a great team player. I think at the beginning, when you're meeting co-stars or colleagues, it's always a bit awkward because it's so many people behind what pushes a production like telenovelas, just because they're very intricate, so it requires a big team. But I think I had a little bit of like the blessing and the curse of not knowing exactly who he was. I had kind of seen him, because I've shared this with you. I didn't grow up watching telenovelas, but I kind of had an idea a little bit of who was who. And I think that going into that project and having that factor was so awesome because it gave the building of the foundation of our relationship was just so natural. I was literally a nobody starting my career. It was my first lead. He didn't have to be a nice human, but he was very generous, very kind, and just very fun to work with. I had a lot of fun shooting that show.
It seems like a lot of fun, especially because I don't know if people know this about you, but you're a dancer and you started dancing from a very young age. So your character is a dancer.
Yeah, it was so perfect. It had so many elements that I think I've had the blessing of doing projects that include either hobbies or interests of mine. It happened with Tierra de Reyes as well when we were able to work with the horses. I remember every time I got my call sheet and it was at a location at the ranch where the horses were going to be, I was just extra excited to go to work. So that happened with Cosita Linda, which was actually also a challenge because I had never, hip hop is not my forte. I didn't grow up dancing hip hop. I'm trained in belly dance and flamenco, which are very different. Ultimately, a craft translates across the board if you have the discipline and I guess, the drive to put in the work. And we put in the work. We put in the work for all of that.
Period.
Yeah.
Well, I think this leads me to my next question, or my first question actually, which is, how did you get involved in telenovelas?
It was kind of an accident.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like I said, not only did I not grow up in that part of our culture, I wasn't immersed there. My mom just actually didn't allow us to watch telenovelas at home.
¿Por qué?
Prohibido. Prohibido. No había poder en el planeta que nos dejara ver las telenovelas. I think I watched bits and pieces of this one telenovela that was called Corazón Salvaje.
Yes.
Old, mid-90s.
With Edith González, right? And Eduardo Palomo.
González, and I was 5 years old and in love with Eduardo Palomo. Like really in love with Eduardo Palomo. And that was, you know, what little reference I had. I think my mom's intention was a very good one. It was in order to kind of drift us away from being attached to a screen for an hour.
Mm-hmm.
An hour a day. So she kind of convinced us that reading was more fun, or that extracurricular activities were more fun. And I really appreciate that. I really do, because it gave me just a different outlook on life in general.
Mm-hmm.
But going back to your question, because I need to be a little more specific and precise. I remember finding an acting class in Meisner Technique that I really wanted to join in Miami. It was a 10-month course that was only one day out of the week for 4 hours. Everything else you had to put in the work on your own during the week and prepare. And I had never been so captivated by any subject. I was a terrible student. And by terrible, I mean, I did not like school at all. But I remember Spanish literature and philosophy were always easier for me to dive in. And on the side, I studied human behavior and a little bit of psychology. But when I got to that acting class, I was just, again, inspired, captivated. I wanted to know more. So the exchange at home was, you can go to Miami and do that, because this was in Miami and I was living in Texas at the time. You can go to Miami and do that as long as you, first of all, have a plan of action and make it happen. It was a year, and 9 months into the year, right before I finished that, I think it was, 10-month class, I auditioned for Telemundo. They were looking for a young cast, because most of the actors that they had been working with for a really long time were above the age of 25, 30, and didn't look like high schoolers, and we all needed to be in high school. And I remember going to doing that audition because it bought me time. It bought me time, not because I was so quickly inspired to join or to be a part of this genre, but because the audition didn't guarantee that you would be on the show. It was just getting you into a 6-week competition of some sort, where we would get classes with other acting techniques. We did something called raza boxes. We did Chekhov, and we also had the opportunity to study under Adriana Barraza, which is now known as one of Mexico's best actresses across the board. So I knew that that would give me also more perspective. It would give me more preparation. And I just kind of started going with the flow. Little did I know, I just advanced and advanced. And in the end, I was given what is considered la protagonista juvenil, you know, which doesn't happen in the general market. There's no division. It's just leads, guest stars, co-stars. In telenovelas, you have, depending on the show, like this case, Sandra Echeverría was protagonista, Gabriel Coronel was protagonista, pero tenías un elenco juvenil. Y en el elenco juvenil habían protagonistas juveniles, and it was Danilo Carrera, Oscar Priego, and I.
That was like the love triangle?
Yeah, that was the love triangle.
Oh, love it.
Yeah, that was the love triangle. And it was a challenge. It was very challenging. I think to this day, considering, you know, not comparing my experience now to my experience then, but just taking into consideration the little experience that I had, even though I knew I had put in as much work as I knew I could and what was at my reach, it was such a challenging experience across the board, with executives, with the network, with the story, with the acting, with my personal life, with my family, because they, you know, all of a sudden you decide to take on an artistic career, and my career kind of comes with a secondary effect or a symptom, which is being in the public eye, and you kind of drag sometimes your closest people into that without them even asking for it. So it was a process, and not just for me, but for my immediate family members. And now we're here.
Wow. No, that's a lot of insight. I asked my podcast listeners to submit questions for you, and someone, I think it was Fatima, sorry Fatima if it wasn't you, was like, how do you deal with being in the public eye and, you know, like tabloid news, and how it affects like your mental health?
I think, you know, it's a part of it's part of the game. It's part of the process. You also have that double-edged sword, which is social media.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that tabloids have kind of lost traction. They're still a thing. I get it. You know, they're still a thing, but they have lost the traction that they used to have and the attention that they used to have, because now you have your own social media and you get to choose what you share and don't share, and you share your own truth about what you want to share and what you don't want to share.
Mm-hmm.
I learned very quickly during Tierra de Reyes that I was always very hesitant to put anything intimate on my social media. And then I was in a relationship that became very media driven, because that person was very media driven. I was always very hesitant, but I kind of went along, como que cediendo a lo que para él era importante. And I don't easily regret things. And again, I can't say I fully regret, because I learned. And I also just confirmed that I don't want to be sharing things that are so intimate to me or important to me, because it feels almost as if you're prostituting a part of your life that to me is sacred. So the way that I've handled it is I try to be as generous with the audience that I have and the platform that I have, because they are a huge part of me being able to work in what I love to do. But I also cherish and protect what is important to me. So there are things that I will not share, like my relationship, like certain personal issues that I go through. My reaction isn't, oh, let me tell the world. I just kind of prefer to live it in a more private fashion. For example, and I can't really judge people that do it otherwise. I just don't like prostituting my life, because in the end, I also want to be recognized if I deserve the recognition. And that's what I work for as well. I want to be seen as a talent that has a body of work that is dignified and that is, that has growth and that has quality, as opposed to being the tabloid person or the social media person that has a career just because this other thing exists. So it's a balance. It's a balance. It's a lot of communication with your closest people about who's comfortable with what. I try not to live my life according to what other people say and feel, but there are certain things that, my sister hates taking pictures. I respect that. She doesn't want to be part of the public eye, so she is not. My mom doesn't really care. She actually is a psychotherapist that uses her own platform for her work. So it depends. And it's trial and error. It's a lot of patience. It's a lot of love, and just trying to find a balance between sharing what people want to know and be a part of, because I think that there's also a very genuine interest in the public to know, the little intricate details about your life, because it's part of feeling like you belong to that person, and that person kind of belongs to you because you look up to them. A balance between that and keeping what I love and cherish protected, and that should be, in a more intimate setting.
I love that. That's beautiful. And for your fans too, I think it's important, because I do see, like, like people like you get all these questions, and it's always like, ¿Dónde está el novio? Or like this and stuff. And so as fans of your work, like, we should also know that what you want to share with us, you're going to share with us. And what you don't, like, respetarlo,
Absolutely. And my relationship started with the audience by working. And I kind of want to keep it that way. I feel so blessed that the audience and the platform that I have is just smart and kind. And yes, I've dealt with some trolls in the past, but most of the people that I come in contact with, people that I've even met when I've traveled that know my work, it's such a gift. It's such a gift. Not that they know about me, but that my work can connect me on an emotional and experiential level with people. It's one of the things that I appreciate the most about my career.
I love that. Y luego, I think, so you did a few telenovelas, and then you got Tierra de Reyes, which I think that, like, really put you even more in the public eye than you were before. How was the audition process? Y how did you get involved in being the protagonist of such a huge telenovela?
Oh my gosh. So I remember finishing Cosita Linda, and I try to, when I finish a project, go back to classes and go back to polishing up my, my craft. Besides, there's never, there's always room to grow and always room to learn. And right after Relaciones Peligrosas ended, I went to Mexico City to El SEA, and 3 months later, I got the casting for Cosita Linda, and I had to go turn in the keys to my apartment in Miami, and they sent me the casting, and I was like, why not? It doesn't hurt. It keeps me in practice, and I'm leaving anyway, so what's one last casting? 2 weeks later, I had to negotiate my apartment back.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I begged that building to give me my apartment back. And then I think what was interesting and what felt so, I guess, no sé cómo se dice en inglés, pero reivindicar.
Oof, you're testing my Spanish.
I know, it's a really hard word. Actually, okay, let's Google.
Oh my goodness. ¿Cómo dijiste
reivindicar?
I think I know what it means. Is it like
reivindicar en inglés?
Guess I don't know what it means. Oh my God.
Google is saying it's claim. I don't think it's the correct translation. But I had, during Relaciones Peligrosas, I had a very rough falling out with Telemundo. There was a lot of pressure going into me getting plastic surgery, boobs and nose, losing weight, because I put on weight during the project. And I just, it's a very complicated subject, but I just thought that the way things ended gave me the feeling that I would never be allowed back to work. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to comply with those things. I didn't want to get those things done. So when I finished Cosita Linda, I kind of got that stamp of credibility of she can be a lead on a show that lasted 10 months shooting. And right after Cosita Linda ended, I actually, all through Cosita Linda, I did a lot of personal and inner work on myself. And I think that reflected. As soon as the show ended, I started getting into the best shape of my life. And I remember being called for that audition for Tierra de Reyes and walking back into those hallways and people not even recognizing. When somebody's working on themselves and you just see something different, they just kind of glow different. Mm-hmm. I think there was a lot of that. And there were people that I bumped into that they saw me, they had to do like a double take and it felt like the work that I had done and the no's that I had to say and the sacrifices that I had to make, thinking that I was closing a door for my career, were paying off because I was being called back to audition. And I wasn't even auditioning for the lead. I was auditioning for Andrea, who was Scarlett Gruber. And I remember giving it my all. And I can't remember if they made me stay and prepare the audition for Sophia that same day, or if they let me go and come back the next day or a couple days later to do the audition for Sophia. So I did Andrea, and then I did the audition for Sophia, and all of a sudden I'm test shooting with Aaron Diaz, and then it all just kind of unraveled. And it was a couple of days of a lot of excitement about, feeling good. I don't I don't like putting all of my faith into castings just because I think that the job of an actor is to cast. When you get the gig, that's kind of like recess. That's just a bonus. My real job is casting. That's what I do. But that was a process that I really enjoyed, that it was always full of good nerves, and it wasn't torturous. It was just awesome.
Wow. And a true testament to you that you stood your ground, and you were still a pretty young actor, and you stood your ground and you're like, no, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. And the universe was like, you go, girl, and I'm going to give you this.
Right. And I'm going to give you this in return. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's, I was literally just yesterday talking to a couple of my friends, and because we were all, my friend and I we're actors, we're aspiring actors. And we were talking about how typecasting is, and how we've been treated differently because of how we look, and been told, you'll never get a lead, or you're too this, or you're too that, and you'll never get a lead. And it's horrible, and it can be debilitating. But learning to stand who you are and stand by who you are and what you look like is so important, because ultimately, you're you. That's it. And that's your superpower too.
Absolutely, because there is no other Dulce Valencia. There is no other Ana Lorena. And you're always going to be too little of something or too much of something for someone, whether it's on a personal level, whether it's on a business level. We are really not made to please everybody. And that's a beautiful thing, because it allows us to be unique. It allows us to, and I do believe that the more in alignment, which is a huge challenge, right? But the more in alignment you are with what you want, and so to me, being in alignment is thinking, feeling, saying, and doing in the same direction, right? And all of those elements need to play a part in order for the universe to get a very, very clear idea of the type of things that you want to attract. And, there's this quote I really like that says that the universe falls in love with a stubborn heart.
I love that.
I really like that. And I think that's one of the things that has kind of kept me going, even after all of these years of kind of a limbo of work, which is disappearing very soon. But I think,
yeah, it is.
God Almighty, the universe, everybody who's listening, I'm super thankful for the projects that are coming up. But it just, something that we're not accustomed to anymore nowadays is that as humans, we take time. Relationships take time. Understanding who you are takes time. And it seems like our attention span and our patience runs thinner and thinner, because technology is the culture of the immediate. And if you're allowing this to dictate your life process, you're going to be very frustrated through that process, because life is not technology. Life is experience, and experience takes time.
And going back, because I found it so interesting, but also very truthful, when you were like, my job is casting, and the actual job is recess. Because from what you've told me about telenovelas, the film scheduling is so grueling and so long. So I was like, you're calling that recess?
Absolutely. Well, here's the thing. It's such a gift to be able to do what you love, right? So I think that overpowers everything else. I would 100% rather be tired of doing what I love than be tired of doing something that I don't love or something that just doesn't fill me. So a lot of people, it's so easy to criticize telenovelas because sometimes they're so tacky or they're so, melodramatic or, over the top.
I'm the biggest defender of it. I have said it before. I will say it again on this podcast. I think telenovelas are sometimes better produced and better characters come out of that than mainstream English media sometimes. Because
I love you for that. I love you for, raising the bar and dignifying telenovelas because I had to learn how to do that. I was on the other side of the spectrum until I worked in telenovelas and I said, oh, it takes balls. I don't know if we can say that.
Oh yeah. Don't worry.
But absolutely. You shoot an average of 25 to 38 scenes a day. It's be at the studio by 7 a.m, leave the studio 8 o'clock, 9 at night. Sometimes 12, sometimes 14, sometimes 16-hour days where you don't get paid overtime. Telenovelas do not get residuals.
Wait, what? Y'all don't get residuals?
No, this was a huge issue with SAG-AFTRA when they realized how exploited Latino actors are just because we shoot in Spanish. So they're not considered a union job.
So, okay. So if I were, for example, to be like, I want to do telenovelas, I go to Miami, I go to Telemundo, and I'm in telenovelas, that does not make me union eligible? All that work? You're kidding.
No.
And residuals, because we have like Tierra de Reyes, for example, I see it everywhere. It's on Hulu. Like when it's like Latino Heritage Month, it's at the top pick of Hulu. I don't know if you've seen it.
Oh my God. Thank you, Hulu. Thank you.
Yeah. But you're not getting paid for all that?
No. No. I mean, I'm barely being introduced to how the general market works. So yeah, the difference in paychecks is huge. And the difference in work ethic is also, and rhythm is also very different. I used to criticize it a lot, but it has given me food on my table and a roof over my head. And it's also allowed me to become a better athlete in my emotions when I'm in work, because telenovelas also, they have these huge studios with amazing sets. And if that day on set, there's a hospital, there's a jail, and there's a church, you might give birth, die, and get married in the same day and be imprisoned. So you better know your stuff. You really better know your stuff.
And how do you do that? Because so I do primarily theater, right? So I'm used to having a script for like 3 weeks, and then I have to be off book, and then I perform it. But and it's always the same script, right? It's never like new episodes. But we're talking telenovelas here where you have 100, 200 episodes, and these are hour-long episodes, and there's no break. And how do you memorize all that, and how are you in tune with your emotions? Because like you said, in one scene you'll be crying, and the next scene you might not be. And do you shoot in order? There's a lot of questions here. So
of course, no, let's get into it. No, we don't shoot in chronological order. So I learned I kind of journal on the side, and I learned a system of continuity, emotional continuity, and even wardrobe continuity, so that I know where my character is coming from and where I'm going. That way, when I shoot the previous scene or the next scene, if I already did the one in the middle, then I kind of have an idea of what I did on camera. and translate that, make sure that that translates into what's next or what's before. I remember Relaciones Peligrosas, I did completely off book. Cosita Linda, I did mostly off book, but there came a point where I had to use an in-ear. I had to learn how to use it, because even though I was completely against it at the beginning, when I saw how chaotic these things can be, you know, you might have a location and in Miami, all of a sudden there's a torrential storm and you're out of the location. So they take you back to the studio, and that same day they change what you studied from last night. And they tell you, okay, so here are the 12 new scenes that we're going to record or that we're going to film today. And you just have to be on it. And I did the whole in-ear, and I learned how to use it. And the way that works is somebody's basically telling you your lines. Of course, it's your job to make it sound natural and look real. And the only way I think I can explain it is I am most present when I'm listening to the other actor that I have in front of me. Mm-hmm. So having an in-ear does not exempt you from studying. Having an earpiece does not exempt you from not analyzing the script and from not reading the whole script. It's a tool that should work just to have something to back you up. So it works kind of like, it's very weird, but let's find a simple, for example, a simple YouTube, National Geographic documentary. Let's click on, this is called When Lions Attack. For National Geographic, I'm waiting for audio. So, so I get the gist of the idea of what he just said, right? And they're telling me in my ear, and I have to pace myself in order for me to be able to say my lines. So deep in Africa, deep in what did you say? There's a place where a mere drink of water feeds into the mighty Zambezi River. So obviously the ideas should be incomplete sentences, but you're almost 3 or 4 words behind what they're telling you.
Oh my goodness.
Believe it or not, at some point it makes it easier because your brain is fried, and sometimes memory sucks. And sometimes your brain is just like, I quit, you know, I'll see you tomorrow if I get here. But that's just kind of how you push through.
Wow. Just so much to unpack there, and so much of my illusion of telenovelas shattered a little bit. But it's okay.
No, quite on the contrary. I find it admirable. And you know what? Now people are so well trained. I have incredible friends that are so absolutely talented. I know that Fernanda Castillo does not use an earpiece.
I love her.
Okay, these people do not, and they've already found a way to just pick up, memorize, analyze, get your objective, just basic things that are going to allow you to be emotionally present. Listen to the person that you have in front of you, make it about them. And their memory is a muscle, you know, memory is a muscle. And I'm actually going to take on that challenge for the next project that I'm doing for Telemundo. I'm going to be completely off book.
Can you tell anything about it? Okay. I'm so excited, though. I'm so excited. Pero just for the record, I meant disillusion with not paying you all and Residuals, not on the earpiece, because that is even more admirable. Yeah, just for the record, because I will stand by my telenovela actors.
Thank you. That means the world to me.
But and also for listeners, Fernanda played Luisa in Teresa, which we just covered. We finished covering it, and my guest, my friend, which did the podcast with me, we loved her character, and we were like, Team Luisa, she deserved better. Like this whole thing.
Absolutely. I am such a fan of her. The first time I saw her, she was doing a musical, which is one of my favorite musicals in Spanish. It's called Hoy No Me Puedo Levantar.
Ooh.
And I thought she was just such a beast of an actor. And then I had the opportunity to meet her, and she's just as beautiful as she is on the inside. Incredible soul. Just incredible soul. And I admire her work deeply. She is probably one of the most hardworking people that I've ever met.
Wow. That's so good to hear. And speaking of people you've worked with, and so Tierra de Reyes, just real fast, I don't think I even gave this, that bad host job. Tierra de Reyes, right, is an adaptation of Pasión de Gavilanes, and it deals with a set of 3 brothers and 3 sisters. The brothers have a sister who dies, and they blame the sister's family for it. So they go to El Rancho, and they're like, we're gonna get our revenge. But guess what? They fall in love with the sisters. And so now revenge gets harder, because how are you gonna get revenge on a woman you love? And so there, I think at the center of it too is a relationship between the 3 sisters. Like there's a very sisterly bond. And I did get a few of my listeners asked, like, how was your relationship with the actors? Because Scarlett Gruber, Kimberly Dos Ramos, how was it like working with them creating that?
Oh my God, it was a dream. I mean, it was really a dream, because not only were we sharing on screen, but we all had the same what's it called? Not changing room, but el camerino?
Dressing room.
Dressing room. We shared the same dressing room. All 3 of us.
Oh my
all
goodness.
3 of us. And that could have been the perfect recipe for chaos and for just tearing each other apart. But I remember walking in day 1. I held hands with both of them. I said, guys, I don't know what you believe in, and I hope this doesn't offend you, but I brought una estampita de la Virgen de Guadalupe. I put, the picture of the Virgin of Guadalupe, and I said, I just kind of want to open this space and share my thoughts and say that this should be a safe place for all 3 of us, where we just feel like we have our own little cave, as opposed to allowing negative energy to come in here. So I put it in the Virgin's hands. I know it sounds really corny, but I said, she's going to be here to protect us, and I think that this space is just to be uninterrupted. And there was definitely chaos, but because of how much fun we ended up having. And I remember Gonzalo Garcia Vivanco and Cristian de la Campa and Fabian Rios had the dressing room next to us. And, we would scare each other all the time and play pranks on each other and just kind of pick on each other. And it was just so much fun. And the friendship that you see between Scarlett, Kimberly, and I could not be more real. It could not be more real. We acted like sisters on and off camera all the time. We didn't fight once. Like, there was no animosity once. There was obviously frustration. There was tears. There was, the normal process that you go through when you're shooting, but it was never against each other. And Cynthia Olavarria was also part of the project. She was the villain in the story, and she's actually one of my best friends from before we shot the show.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I love it, and I love that the friendship transcends. Let's see. I'm gonna go to listener questions. And then we're going to talk about your activism because I really want to talk about that. Let's see. So Fatima really loves you. Fatima, if you're listening to this, she's from Chicago. And she was like,
gosh.
She asked, she's like, is she ever going to come to Chicago?
Oh man, I've been to Chicago twice, and that's a very emotional place for me because my grandfather was from there. I've been really emotional lately, so if I cry, I'm just gonna let it happen. I would love to visit Chicago. I'm actually planning on possibly going in October, and with my sister. And so Fatima, I will be in Chicago, just to let you know. If it does happen, I'll confirm or I'll reach out to you and you can tell her. But I would love to go to Chicago. I mean, I'm always up for going to Chicago. What was the question?
It was, so that was one of her questions. It was like, are you, because she's like, I would love to toparme con ella.
Of course. I would love that as well.
Let's see.
Let's make it happen. Fatima, let's make it happen.
It's going to make her so happy. All right. So we have Saskia. And Saskia is one of my listeners from Hong Kong. And she asked, what do you love about your character, Sophia?
Oh my gosh, Hong Kong. Shout out to Hong Kong. This will never cease to amaze me. Really. I mean, it's mind-blowing. What did I like most about Sophia? I like that she kind of never backed down. She tried to be as human as possible, even when she was strategizing. I loved her love for animals. I love and the connection that she had with animals. I think one of her most awesome qualities was that she never gave up on love, despite going through sexual abuse and domestic violence. You know, I know in real life, it's very romantic to think that that transition is so smooth out of those things into a healthy love. But I think that the fact that I had the opportunity to show that that transition does exist was just one of the things I loved the most.
I love it. Sandra asks, what was her favorite telenovela growing up? Which I think maybe you may have answered it.
Corazón Salvaje.
Okay.
Absolutely. Corazón Salvaje. And there was this, I actually think it's another Edith González telenovela. I can't believe I'm blanking out on this.
Tell me. I love her, so I may know this.
So the theme song was sung by Enrique Iglesias, and that's why I liked it the most. You know, Esperanza?
Let's Google.
Yeah, Enrique Iglesias sang the theme song. I was in love with him when I was really little.
Oh my God. As you should. Let's see, telenovelas. So we have, do you remember like sort of the time frame?
I want to say like early 2000s.
Okay. We have, it's not Salome, right?
No.
Okay. So I'm going through her filmography on Wikipedia, and we're just going to go back to, in case it was after. Okay, so we have Rosa Salvaje, Flor y Canela, En Carne Propia, Corazón Salvaje, La Sombra del Otro, La Jaula de Oro, Nunca Te Olvidaré, Cuento de Navidad. Ándale. With, let's see, Nunca Te Olvidaré, Enrique Iglesias. Yep.
Score!
We found it. So I actually. Wait! Con Fernando Colunga.
Yes.
It's on YouTube, so I have it on my list to watch.
Nice. Okay. Well, I used to like it because of the theme song, and I would actually hide from my parents with my sister and try and watch that telenovela. Oh, you know what's interesting that I hadn't realized and I didn't remember until now? I spent all of my summers in Mexico City, and there was the 4 o'clock. I was gonna.
It's okay. It's okay.
My summer spent in Mexico as I was growing up. There was the afternoon 4 o'clock slot of telenovela, and it was children's telenovelas.
Mm-hmm.
There was El Diario de Daniela, Carita de Ángel, and I think there was a Belinda one, but I can't remember.
Was it Cómplices al Rescate? Was it Aventuras en el Tiempo? Or was it...
Oh my God, I think it was Aventuras al Rescate. I don't know.
No, Amigos al Rescate.
Amigos al Rescate.
Something like that. It was, yeah. Sorry, Belinda was like my inspiration growing up. Like nice. There was a period of time where I had a braid that I wore across my forehead like she
I think we all did. I think at some point we all did. Yeah. Yeah.
That girl. That actor. That woman. That
woman. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you would watch telenovelas in Mexico?
Yes. So because it was the summer and my mom was like, relax, and the content was really just sappy and pink and super nice, and El Diario de Daniel. It's like, I don't know. That's kind of like the soundtrack of my, childhood.
I love it. And then last listener question is from Jesus. Shout out to Jesus. And he asks, what was your favorite telenovela to make?
Oh my goodness. I can't choose.
You know what that reminds me of? Ana Martin. Mm-hmm. She's on TikTok. By the way, are you on TikTok?
I don't know why I feel so awkward on TikTok. I think I did 2 TikToks and never did it. I was like, I just don't think that I'm apt for that app. It's so, I mean, don't get me wrong. I see the funniest things on there, and my sister is an expert at finding the best TikTok content, and my brother too. My brother actually has a weird natural, maybe it's his age, but TikTok to me has a timing that I don't understand. I don't quite comprehend it.
Okay.
Maybe I could take the time and try and tap into it, but I also don't like doing things on social media that don't come naturally to me. And sometimes even the social media that I do have, which is mostly Instagram, already feels a little pushed. So anyway, why are you asking about TikTok?
It's because, so Ana Martin is like the queen of TikTok. Mm-hmm. She does a bunch of TikToks, and they always ask her like what your favorite character is. So similar in similar vein to what your favorite telenovela is.
Right.
And she's always like, es como decirle a una madre, like, what kid do you prefer? She's Absolutely. Like, they're all parts of my soul and they're all parts of my being.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree, especially when it comes to telenovelas, because of what we mentioned before. They take so much time. It's so time consuming, and the energy that you invest in these projects, it fills up so much of your life that, I mean, every project that I have done has marked that era of my life in a certain way. So I don't know. It's really hard. I don't think I'd be able to choose.
And that's fair. And now moving to your activism that I really want to touch on, because this is how I met you.
Okay, yeah.
I met Ana Lorena because she has just this beautiful heart and she cares so deeply about people and about injustices. And I met her because the organization I work for, Ana Lorena, has volunteered for us, and she has used her voice to elevate stuff that we do on immigration. And recently, with everything that's happening in Cuba, by the time this airs, I hope things are better, and I hope like
Oh my goodness,
something has happened. But you did something a few days ago that I was like, I wish people did this. And you wrote this beautiful post about Cuba. One of my friends, who is Cuban, and she has been dealing with a lot of stuff with this worry for her family. She saw it and she was like, this is beautiful. And she was just like so touched by it. And so you were using your platform, but the way Instagram's algorithm works, obviously, like, it was like not going to boost it at all. So Ana Lorena took to her stories and was like, ask me questions. And
yep.
And of course, like, everyone was like, oh my God, ¿qué es esto? ¿Qué es otro? And then you answered a few questions, and then you're like, by the way, this is for the algorithm. So now you're going to listen to what I have to say about Cuba. Tell us what inspires your activism and why you do this.
I think I'm nurturing in nature, but I also grew up in a household that was always so community driven. I've also been made aware of the certain privilege that I grew up with. And my parents made sure that my siblings and I understood that we had a responsibility with that privilege, and that not only should we learn how to earn the things that we have, but to always give back. So that's always been a part of my upbringing. And, you know, the most simple lesson in giving back is that you always think that you're doing something good for certain people. And when push comes to shove, you realize in the end that whoever you're helping, more often than not, gives you so much more. So it's this cycle, right? And I believe that if the world is already complex and hard, it's as simple as wanting. If you've ever been in a situation where you want to alleviate pain or discomfort, or, you know, and somebody comes along and shows you how, or tells you how, or just sits with you, you can value the presence of somebody else just by doing that. And they can literally change your world for the better, because it's like a little streak of hope. It's like, okay, well, at least I'm not alone. At least I don't. And that always starts sparking and fueling hope. And hope and dreaming is so important for survival. Because I know everybody's cross is different, or everybody's life blueprint is different, but that doesn't mean that we don't go through very, very tough and hard moments. So I believe that we have the power to let people know that they're either loved through the process, that they are heard, that maybe you can actually physically do something to help. But that's what we're here for. I've never understood working on yourself if that work is not going to transcend on a community level. We're not alone to thrive alone and to be, because it means nothing in the end. So I think it also doesn't mean that you should jump on all of the causes. You know, it doesn't mean spread yourself so thin. I do believe that everybody has the right to choose the causes that they support. I don't condemn, judge, or criticize people that aren't echoing Cuba's problem right now. Because maybe they're echoing South Africa, who's also going through a really tough time. Or the Amazon forest that's on fire. Mm. I think, it's just pick one. It doesn't matter. Pick one. Because if you don't pick one, it feels almost like the first step to just letting everything die. We have a responsibility to ourselves, but we also have a responsibility to each other. And many times, people, entities, institutions that are more evil and more powerful. No, I think they tend to be more evil because you realize that they have a team. So if they have a team, we deserve to have a team too. Mm-hmm. And the only way we can have a team is by echoing each other's voices and needs. I truly believe in that. I truly believe in community, and I believe in thriving as people and celebrating our differences and creating unity rather than separation. Mm-hmm. Because we all have a different struggle. That's okay. We all are inspired by different things. Okay, perfect. Use it. Do something with it. You have the power to do it. And I don't care what people say. We are in the perfect country to do it. This country allows you to at least put up a good fight. Other countries have way less opportunity and way less freedom than we do. Living in the United States is privilege enough. Period. I don't care. You live here, you are privileged. More privilege, less privilege, I'm not here to compare that. But you live in a country that allows you to have freedom of speech that, yes, it has its problems. Yes, systemically it's flawed. But you have the opportunity to put up a effing good fight. Cuba can't even fight right now. Mm-hmm. And I'm not trying to be the voice of Cuba. That's why I say echoing the issues. I'm not Cuban, but the people that I hung out with for 5 years and that I'm really, really close to are Cuban. I mean, people that are so kind and loving, and they have this they have gone through so much pain and still can create music. Some of the most beautifully written music that I've heard and that has moved me is Cuban. On the melancholy side and also on the salsa side, which is super fun. And always, just one inspires me to cry and let it all out, and the other one inspires me to sweat my butt off. When you find people that have given you so much without expecting anything in return, the moment that you have an opportunity, however you deem, this is also important. I don't think it's productive to criticize how people decide to help. Because, yeah, I understand there's a difference in donating money to, for example, a homeless community There's a difference between donating money and going and making sandwiches and giving them out, right?
Mm-hmm.
What if I'm just terrible at making sandwiches and I'm just going to waste everybody's time because that's not where I am productive? Then let that person donate. One is not more important than the other. As a community, we have different pieces. That's why it's a community. That's why you need a team, because you need different people to concentrate on what they're good at. Be good at giving back. Know what that is. Know what that looks like. If I have a platform, I know exactly the causes that I want to stand up for. And I've been doing it my whole life. I think that's where my activism comes from. It comes from this faith and hope in humanity that there's still more good than evil, and that if we stick together, we can also create an impact that will maybe balance out the counterpart.
I love that. And I think this is a beautiful place to end. Everything you just said is beautifully said, and I thank you for using your platform and for being just a beautiful and wonderful human being.
It takes one to know one. There is nothing that you see in me that is not in you. So I applaud tu lucha. I am constantly inspired by you use your platform as well. And you use your artistry, which is another superpower. And it's a great superpower because es un arma poderosa. Es un arma mucho más poderosa que tener un arma de verdad.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And thank you for this. Thank you for being here and for
anytime. We can do this again. We can bring my friends from the telenovelas as well. I can leave them with you. I would love to dignify this more and just join you.
I would love that. I would love to have a Sisters del Junco reunion.
Oh my gosh. It might be easier for Scarlett and I to do that. We're supposed to be together soon. I will keep you posted on that. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe we can also have Kimberly join us.
Oh, thank you. I would love that. And and I would love to do this with you. And hopefully once your new project becomes public, we can talk again about it.
Absolutely. I am so excited for what's coming. I have 2 projects coming on the way in the next couple of months. Hopefully by when this is out, I'll be working on one of them, and then the next one is later on during the year, and we can just let people in on the little secret surprises.
Oh, I'm so excited. And where can people find you? You said Instagram was the best place.
Yeah, Instagram is probably the best. I don't use Facebook. I rarely use Facebook, and I rarely use Twitter, but I'll check it from time to time. Instagram is definitely the way to go. And my handle is at Ana Lorena, which is my first name, and then it's S that stands for Sanchez, and then M that stands for Mondragon, which are my last names.
Period. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you, dear listener, for listening to this very special episode. I will see you all next week.
Love you guys.